And greetings. I'm Sister Michelle Dvorak, the coordinator for the Life Skills for Mission program. And today we have our guest speaker, Sister Stevena Lobo from India. And her topic today is emotional intelligence and conflict management. So, Sister Stevena, it's yours.
Thank you, Sister Michelle. I'm really glad to be invited for this life skill program that you are conducting. And I hope to share and add something to your knowledge. So
Thank you.
here I
Yes.
go, sharing my screen.
Okay.
All right.
And I'll let you, yes, it's
Is the screen
coming.
visible?
Yes, it's on now. We're good.
All right. So I move straight into the topic. It's emotional intelligence and conflict management. Well, I guess you are hearing a lot about conflict management in these days, and I think something about emotions as well. But I will proceed with once again a bit of emotional, what is emotion, and then how we talk about emotional intelligence.
Okay.
Okay, so this concept of emotional intelligence was highly popularized by Daniel Goleman's book. It was already popularized by other psychologists, but with Daniel Goleman's book, the emotional intelligence and why it is important, it got more popularized. So in that book, he kind of gives us a definition that says emotional intelligence is the ability to manage our own emotions as well as recognize and appropriately respond to the emotional distress of others. So what is he basically trying to tell you is that how you handle yourself and how you handle others in simple terms. Let's just look at that way. So when you are emotionally, let's say stressed or happy, even excited, so how do you handle that? And when you see someone else in front of you who is very much excited or very sad, how do you respond to that? That's what it is. So this emotional intelligence is a combination of two words. So when we talk about emotion and intelligence, we are talking about simple terms, heart and head. So generally when we look at our sisters, we say, oh, she's very emotional. So what are we trying to say is she's very soft at heart, or we say sometimes, oh, she cries easily. You see that? So we talk about that's emotional. We connect emotion to the heart. And when we talk about intelligence, we say, oh my, she's highly skillful. She can do this well. She thinks well. So intelligence is always thought to be something on a head, rational. You can call it that way. Now, when you combine these two words, emotion and intelligence, we are combining heart and mind, which means we are saying I respond to myself, not just emotionally, but I use my head, I reason it out. And that's how we say emotional intelligence. So why we have emotional intelligence is because we have self-mastery, or you can call balanced person. In our religious life, we call it as balanced person, or to refrain from impulsive choices. So it's like when I'm angry, I just throw words. So that's being very emotional. But whereas when I put my intelligence into it, I reduce my impulsive choices and I communicate. I learn to communicate effectively. Okay, so generally we always say emotions are being, negative or bad. But what we call it in our psychology terms, emotions are more positive because emotions are a whole bunch of energy. Now you ask me, how is it energy? Have you tried noticing, when you feel happy, have you realized you have all kinds of energy? You can do anything, you can run about. It's like if a sister tells you, go get me this, you are like, okay, I run and I get it. So it's all energy. So when you feel happy, when you feel confident, when you feel inspired, your energy level is very high. That's why we call it as more positive. When we say it's negative, when you are angry, when you are resentful, when you are afraid, Have you noticed your energy level is low? You are like, just leave me alone. I will deal it with myself. Just leave me alone. Don't we do that in our religious life? And we do, because we all have our own rooms, we have our space to go and hide ourselves. But our energy levels are low. We want someone to come and tell, oh, it's all right, it's okay. You know, and what happens when someone says that? Your energy level starts to come up. So remember, emotions are a bunch of energy. So that's why it is positive or it is negative, because it creates a high level of energy or it creates a low level of energy. But both positive and negative are just normal. The bottom line is, it's not the positive or the negative emotions that you feel, but the expression of your emotion is what we call it good or bad. Because when I am angry, if I feel angry, nothing happens. What happens? I am angry. But the expression of my anger is what going to matter. And that's what we call it good or bad. So when my expression is, I'm angry and I punch you, is it good? It's not good. So that's how. So when I'm angry with a sister, I don't sit next to her. Or I might attack her during my morning prayer. If it's my turn, what will I do? The gospel speaks about anger, and there are incidents happening in our own religious life that we attack each other indirectly. So the expressions are in different, very many ways that which comes out. Okay, let's move ahead. So why do we need emotional intelligence? Simply because, as an individual person, we all have our own beliefs. We have our own culture and certain habit formation that we have had. And so what happens when those beliefs actually do not make us to be, let's say in our religious term, we can call it as a fully transformed person. Jesus calls it fully transformed person. What does it mean, fully transformed? Which means certain beliefs of mine, certain way of thinking of mine doesn't make me a highly potential person where I could think in a broader terms. It doesn't happen that way. So when you are an emotionally intelligent person, you begin to look for perspectives. You begin to think in other people's terms. What happens, other thing is, you begin to reduce your anger, jealousy, negativity. You begin to learn to handle that when you develop an emotional intelligence. And above all, or the best of all, is the spirit of resilience within you and within your community. Now, what do I mean by resilience? Ability to bounce back. How do you bounce back? When I am upset with something, do I sit with it the whole day? Or if I'm an emotional intelligent person, I will begin to reason it out. And then what I do? Okay, I am upset. She said this, I didn't like it. But that doesn't mean I skip my dinner. That doesn't mean I skip my apostolate. I do what I'm supposed to be doing with. But I acknowledge what I'm feeling. So we call it an ability to bounce back. Okay. So in a simple terms to put it, why we need emotional intelligence? Because it is to understand and manage my own emotions, and in turn I begin to relate and manage my conflict.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where emotional intelligence plays your role in conflict management. When I begin to know when I begin to sense what am I feeling, then I know, okay, she said this, I am upset about it. So what do I do now? What do? I go and fire her and tell her what's in my heart. Why did you say this? How could you say this? What do you mean, how could? She said it. Oh, now what do you want to do? She said what she wanted to say. Okay, now how are you going to take it? All right. So I go and I tell her also what I want to say. Then what happens? The conflict increases. But if I recognize what happens, then I begin to adjust myself, understand myself, begin to talk, communicate effectively. So that's how conflict management is handled. So what we say, conflict is part of our life.
Mm-hmm.
Where as religious, well, we come from, as you all are listening to me, all of you are from, I don't know for how many cultures. Well, each of us, forget about cultures. As persons, we are different. I think differently. She thinks differently. My bringing up is different. The way I have grown up, and it's like simple term to say, if a hug in the culture of European, it's very normal. In my culture, in India, a hug would be like, oh, you'll have to think twice. Can I hug? Will that be interpreted differently? Simple terms. So the conflicts are part of our life. The way we think, the way I perceive is different. So conflict arises from differences. And whenever conflict arises, our reaction is, oh my, I react emotionally. I mean, I give you one concrete example. This morning, it so happened, uh, someone said something in the refectory about the morning prayer. And someone was like, I was supposed to be conducting the morning prayer, and how did you do it? Why did you do it? I was there. So, it was a reaction rather than just to say, okay, sister, thank you, you did it. I'm grateful to you. I would have been happy if I had to do it, but you did it. Thank you. It isn't a very big deal. So it was the way we perceive things. So that's how we begin to manage our conflict. Actually, conflict management is another huge topic that can be dealt and talked about. Uh, but the time is very short, and I don't want to go into the detail of it. So I just leave it to that. Uh, Sister Michelle is smiling when I talk about the timings. Yeah,
That's quite all
it's
right.
okay. So to be successful at conflict management, one needs to be successful at managing your own emotions. It's just simple as that. If I know how I am managing myself, automatically I will know how to put things forward, and I will be able to manage the conflict as well. So I'm stopping with here. I'm not talking much about the conflict. Uh, well, I like the quote of the Aristotle, which might help you to think a little more. He says, anybody can become angry, and that's very easy. But to be angry with the right person, to the right degree, at the right time, and for the right purpose and the right way is not within everyone's capacity. I'm sure this quote will, if you talk about this quote, you will be able to know how to handle conflicts. So it's not about me getting angry, but it's the way and how much and to what level is what about. I like this fellow as well. Well, now I want to talk something a little bit about emotion. So emotions, I said, is a bundle of energy. I said that. And now I'm saying that emotions serve a purpose, which means whenever an emotion arises, your brain is trying to tell you something. Well, by the way, emotions, though we say we connect it to the heart, but emotions are actually in your brain. There's a system in your brain that we call it a limbic system. I'm not going into that. So where the emotions are actually felt, it's not actually in your heart that is felt, it's the brain. So your brain actually tells you something is happening in your life, something bad or something good. That's how emotions are coming up. We'll look into that further now. So whenever an emotion comes up, it tells you that I have a need. Either it is met or it is not met. I'll explain this. We all have needs. Okay, now, very simple need all of us are aware is a need for love or need for recognition, need for attention. I think in our religious life, we understand that much easily. Need for attentions. We all like, especially the attention of a superior. And my, if the superior doesn't give you attention, you got to check what's happening within you. Okay, so let's break this now. So emotion, I say that emotion uh, tells you that we all have a need. Now what, let's break with an example. I think you all are a congregation which deals with hospitals, if am I right?
Correct.
All right. Okay,
And
so
education. And
yeah,
education.
and education. So I'll take an example.
And
Let's
others.
say, yeah, so let's say I'm a sister of your congregation and I am trained nurse. All right, I'm a trained nurse, and everyone knows in the community that I am super good at my profession. I can pinpoint everything. I'm very good at nurse. And it so happened that there is another sister who wanted an assistant, and the superior right in front of me tells someone else, could you please assist that sister? She tells that. Now what happens to me? What happens to me? I begin to feel angry. How could she do? She knows I'm a trained nurse. She knows I am very good at my job. Why did she have to tell? Well, what's happening to you? What's happening to you now?
Mm.
Are you aware? What do you wanted actually? So your emotions are coming. Let's first start with what emotions? Anger? Yeah. Are you hurt? Which means still there is anger. Or are you jealous? What happened to you? So let's break it still down. What you wanted? You wanted a recognition. You wanted your superiors to recognize you that you are a capable person. You
Mhm.
could handle that sister's problem. That's what I'm talking about. Going deeper, deeper into yourself to understand first what emotion and what need it is indicating. So it's like a tip of an iceberg. You dig down and then you understand what's happening within me. So whenever an emotion comes up, ask yourself, what is this feeling? And what is this feeling trying to tell me about the situation? That's where something we all need to look into ourselves, because in our religious life, very honestly to tell you, we all get easily carried away with our needs. We want to be loved, we want to get an attention, we want to be acknowledged. And when that doesn't happen, we all have these high and lows in our religious life for simple silly things, for simple silly things. And that's where we create stress for ourselves for simple little things. I mean, that has been my experience for past 14 to 15 years. Actually, we don't have, we are people who are everything. I mean, we don't have to we cooked everything, we have food, but our needs are not met. And we are trying to, our needs are constantly comes up, and we are trying to, you know, the stress gets created when our needs are not met. I don't know how I can talk more about this, and I don't know, but yeah, well,
You
one day
got
if
it.
we get time, we can talk about that in detail as well. Let's move forward. So, suppose if you're feeling sad, which means you need to tell that there is something that I need to let go. Maybe an opinion of mine, maybe an idea of mine. I'm feeling sad. Why am I holding that? What is it calling me? What is it telling me to let go of something? Or if I'm feeling very anxious, let's say I someone confronted me about something, or someone blamed me or judged me, and now I'm anxious that I want to go and confront the person, I want to tell. So I'm feeling anxious. So what is this anxiety telling you? Okay, maybe you need to face something in life, you need to talk about it. No, rather than feeling just anxious, and when you are anxious, you mess up with a lot of other things. But if you recognize and say, okay, she said that and now I'm anxious, how I want to address this issue, that's where I'm feeling anxious. When I'm feeling angry, probably you are saying to yourself, something isn't fair. Oh, how could she do that? I'm not that type of a person. How could she say that to me? So you feel an injustice has happened, or something isn't fair.
Mhm.
You feel something isn't fair about, and why did she do that? So that's where you are trying. So anger actually indicates I didn't get what I want in simple terms, which means it's not about material. I wanted a respect and I didn't get that. I wanted a recognition and I didn't get that. So I'm angry about it. So whenever you are angry, ask yourself, what is it? What is it? The bottom line again is this: we interpret, the way we interpret and respond to feelings has a major impact on our behavior, our choices, and how we cope in life if we want to enjoy. So, the way I interpret, so when I say the way I interpret, because we are two different individuals. For me, someone made a comment. For me, I take it as, oh, it was a happy mood and she just said it. It doesn't bother me. But for someone, it's like, so what? She crossed a boundary. How could she say that? Can I break that into, okay? Shall I break this one again into an example? Okay, so in our religious life, I'm taking more of religious because I have all religious crowd, I guess. So what happens when we sit together for a meeting, and superior brings out an issue? or a community sister brings out an issue to address. Now, she is actually bringing for the benefit of the community. Okay, I take it very personally because I already had a clash with her and we did speak. But when she brings in the community, now what I do? No. She said that because she wanted to attack me in the community meeting. Now, is this you interpret it? How did your superior interpret? Okay, I dealt with her, it finished. But I want to bring it to the community meeting so that it helps the other. I'm not revealing her name. I'm not revealing that we had a conflict. I'm not revealing that. I'm not even revealing that we have solved it. I'm just bringing an incident. So, but what happened? I interpreted it as if she's attacking me. And that's how, so when I interpret that she attacks me, I'm going to respond to her into that way. I'm going to tell her, yeah, okay, yeah, it did happen to me. Sister, you are not talking about it. Why are you not saying in the meeting that we had this clash? Did the superior intend that? She did not intend. But I interpreted it and now I'm responding it. So the way I respond, which means my behavior is angry. In the community meeting, I'm angry. I'm frustrated. I am feeling I am being attacked. That's how I'm taking it. And so I make a choice to remain sad, gloomy, hurt a whole day. And that's how I'm going to cope up with it. I hope I'm clear on this. This is something very important that we need to understand. The way I interpret things. And so the way I interpret is also comes from the beliefs that I have, the habits that I have formed. It's also leading me into that. And the needs that I have. It all gets connected. Okay, let's move forward. So whenever an emotion comes up, it tells you, we said the brain tells you either something good or bad. So it indicates a change. You need to change either your thoughts or your attitudes, as well as your relationships or environment. Sister Michelle, am I crossing the time?
Mm-mm. You're good. You're fine.
Okay.
You
Okay.
keep going.
Okay. I do have few more slides. So emotion indicates a change, especially when we talk about the negative emotions. Whenever an emotion, negative emotion rise up, yeah, you need to sit and ask myself, what is that I need to change? Do I need to change a thought of mine, an attitude of mine? Is it something to do with my relationship, with my situations around? Okay, that's what it indicates. So when we talk about emotional intelligence, simple, it happens on two levels. Emotional intelligence happen on my personal level, and it happens on my outer level. That's my on my relational level, relation to the world, to the situations, to the people, everything. And on a personal level, it's to me, my thoughts, my beliefs, my whole person. So in religious, we say an integrated person, a person who is completely integrated. So you can also put it as my spiritual and my daily life is balanced. That's what we talk about, integration of life. So on a personal level, how my integration takes place. So there is a whole cycle that takes place. What I think, the way my thoughts are, so my cognitive development leads to the feeling. So if I am thinking that, okay, I'm feeling angry, or if I'm saying I'm sad, I'm just so sad, I think that you can say I feel sad. But if you say, okay, it starts like she hurt me. So my thought is she hurt me, which means she did something to me which I didn't expect. She did something wrong to me. That's my thought. So how am I going to feel? Angry. And how I am going to behave? I'm not going to talk to you. Come what may, I am not talking to you. So it's your personal level, it's how you think, with what belief system you have. So the whole cycle keeps running. So whenever an emotion comes up, first ask yourself, what is my thought? What is my thought? So my thought creates a feeling. And when I have a feeling, it's get acted out. So on my personal level, I deal with my thoughts and my feelings. The behavior part comes in my relational level. So always ask yourself, what am I thinking? What is my constant thought? Is my thought constantly negative? If my thought is constantly negative, I'm going to have always negative feelings. If I say to myself, today is a lovely day, fantastic day, watch yourself. You're going to feel energy. You're going to feel, oh, happy. I become very productive in my apostolate. But I'm like, oh, today is a dull day. Oh my God, I don't know. Not just something seems not really okay. What am I going to feel? Heavy. I'm going to feel so low. And that's how I'm going to respond. So this is how the cycle works, the thinking and the feeling level. Now, when you pinpoint the thought, this is what I was explaining, or a memory that provoked your emotion, you can choose more appropriate behavior. So when you pinpoint what I'm thinking, it's simple, like, when you're watching a movie and then, you start crying because you're seeing something. But what is the thought? You get attached to a memory. Ah, it was my mother's favorite movie, or it was my mother's lovely song, and so actually I'm reminded my thought is with my mother. That's how the connection. So that provokes a feeling, that provokes an emotion. It's the thought that brings a feeling into you, and then you choose an appropriate behavior, or you behave appropriately. So when we are talking about relation to the world, well, your behavior is all about the relation. So you choose to respond, or you choose to react to the situation, to the persons, or to the events. So when I say my relation to the world in an emotional intelligence, it is always seen in terms of behavior. There is nothing else that people are going to look at. All what they have is your behavior. So if you say, no, 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 that's not what I meant, but you acted it out. And so, hmm, sometimes you can say the intentions are good for nothing. Yeah, you intended, you didn't want that, but well, you acted it out. And that's what people evaluate you on. So the way you behave, so either I react or I respond. If I'm an emotional, intelligent person, I take a pause and I respond to the situation. I make a choice of my response and I begin to deal with it, to the situation, to the person, and to the events. I hope I'm clear on this. I'm running a bit faster. Well, so if you know that everyone else's behavior and emotions are linked to their thoughts and their memories, you can be curious about why they said or do certain things rather than simply reacting to their behavior and expression. What I'm saying is, if you know that, okay, my thought is this, that's how I am feeling this, and that's why I'm behaving this. Sometime, well, it takes you a little more higher level. When something happens to you, you could also say, oh, she said that probably she's thinking this way, and that's how she's feeling it, and that's the reason she has acted this out. Well, it doesn't happen to us very easily, but let's call it, if you say I'm a highly spiritual person, I'm not talking about religious person, I'm talking about a spiritual person, then I begin to think much broader, much bigger, much deeper. This will come to you when you go deeper into yourself. All right. So, just few things, like people with low EQ, emotional intelligence, are often feel they are misunderstood. They get upset very easily. They become overwhelmed by emotions, and they have problem being assertive. Assertive in a sense, they can't say no or can't say yes. And if you have a good amount of emotional intelligence, you understand the link between the emotions and the behavior. You remain calm and composed during a stressful situation, able to influence others towards a common goal, which means I just don't think for myself. I create a situation where there is win-win situation. Okay, something beneficial to me, something beneficial to you. And handle difficult people with tact and diplomacy. Well, when we say like, okay, she's angry, so what do? I get angry? No. I'm saying like, okay, sister, take your time. Can we talk a little later? So I handle her and I handle myself. We can do that. Now, how do we improve our emotional intelligence? Once again, I come back to this famous psychologist, Daniel Goleman. He has given this 4 components, so to say, about how you can be an emotional intelligent person. That is self-awareness, that is the ability to recognize your emotions. You can manage self-management, that is how I control. I may not explain this in detail because I have done that in the slides. Then there is a social awareness and social skills. Let's see how it is. So when we talk about self-awareness, self-awareness is ability to accurately identify your emotions. Most of us do not know what emotions we are going through. It's very easy. I feel happy, I'm sad. Just that we know. But we have difficulty in naming our emotions. How many of us in our religious life have difficulty to say, I am jealous. I am jealous that she got that position and I did not get it. We
Mhm.
have a great amount of difficulty. Whether you are in India, in Africa, in Europe, jealousy is one of the emotions we have difficulty to talk. Anger, yeah, maybe because it is socially acceptable. That's why we can say, I'm angry. Well,
Mhm.
anger is just at the surface. There is a lot more underneath. Well, your sister Michelle, maybe you could also organize something on anger management because
Mhm.
anger is one of the emotions. It's quite dangerous if not handled because anger is just an outcome of something which going. But jealousy is very difficult for us to name it. So, can you sit and say to yourself, why am I acting the way I am acting? What is it that? So can I be aware? And one of the best way in our religious life to have self-awareness is examination of conscience. You know, my dear sisters, we have good amount of time for examination of conscience, and it is given to us lavishly. What happens during examination of conscience? Ignatius of Loyola was very strict on it, examination of conscience, and we kind of have taken that spirituality. So for us, it is there. But what do we do? Oh, did I do good? Did I do bad? No. Examination of conscience is not just about did I do good or did I do bad? No, it's still deeper. Do I do it only in the chapel? No, I do it all my life, all my whole day. When I lie down on my bed at the end, I ask, what happened to me during the day? What did I feel today? How did I react? How did I handle myself? Was I very stressful? What happened that created stress in me? What did I talk to? Why did I talk to that sister that way? So that's how we introspect our life. And the more, is it Socrates who says, a life which is not examined is not worth living?
Mhm.
I guess I hope I'm quoting him rightly. But yeah, a life which is not examined. And my dear sisters, over the years, I realized that in my life, I was very impulsive. I was very impulsive. But I realized at the end of my impulsive choices, I had only regrets and nothing else. And so I'm making a point to take examination of conscience very, very seriously in my life, not for the other, not for the other, but for me, but for me to grow, for me to grow. Okay, so that's self-awareness. Self-management is, yeah, how am I regulating my emotions? I feel, okay, so what happened? I felt and I just blow off. I felt and I'm become moody whole day. Is that how I manage myself? So what happens? I always have high and low, high and low. So someone approaches me like, oh, don't, you got to be very careful. She might burst. Or somebody like, oh my God, you don't know when is she happy and when she's sad. Have you come across sisters that way? Yeah, we do. We do. Why? Because there isn't any emotions take you for a ride. It's like, yeah, exactly. If you don't handle your emotions, they handle you.
Mhm.
And then they take you for a ride. So you just have high moods, you have low moods, you are stressed one moment, you are happy the other moment. You don't know what's happening. So what is the outcome of the behavior is reaction, some days response. Can I be consistent in choosing my response? When I mean choose, I make a choice. I choose not to respond to this sister in this way. That's what I mean. Self management. Okay, social awareness is, yeah, let's take in the community. Am I aware? Am I aware how this sister is feeling? Okay, something happened. Maybe she lost something of hers, or let's say she lost her dear one, and now I'm waiting to give her the responsibility. And okay, she has not done it. Am I aware what is she feeling? Or I'm like, sister, you haven't done this well. Yeah, I understand you are going through pain, but you could have done. Is that the way? Is that what she is expecting? So how aware am I? Or Okay, I come out from as juniors. Okay, I meet my superior and I come out, and I know I got lots of corrections. Okay, I got lots of corrections, and now I have this, let's say, recreation coming up, and I have to put up a smiling face. It's a bit difficult. My companion suppose comes up and like, yeah, you are not doing properly. You're supposed to be doing this, and I'm like, okay, I will do it. But do I know that she's come from a superior's room, and she's told something which she's finding it difficult? How are we relating to each other? We say we are sisters. Are we really sisters to each other? Ask yourself. Well, social skills. Social skill is something that we cultivate. That's why I say emotional intelligence is an ability. Ability means something that you can learn, a skill which we develop. How do I communicate? What comes to my mind, I just throw, or do I censor my words? I feel angry. And so I said, okay, but what happened? It's like, someone said, oh, I said what was in my heart. Now I am at peace. All right, you said what is in your heart. What happened to the other's heart? How did the person receive?
Mhm.
Well, that's called emotional intelligence, how I communicate. And that's where the conflict management comes in. So, well, always think, I said what is in my heart. I like this sentence though. I said what is in my heart, but let's also understand what happens to the heart of others. If we just think of that, well, we'll be able to communicate better. And I think being good listener, I can say this because, well, I had such a difficulty in listening. You know what would happen to me? By the time someone talks to me, my mind starts framing the response I want to give. So I'm actually not listening. So when someone talks to you, well, let's say a sister is telling you, this is what I'm like. Oh, I am waiting to tell you what's in my mind. Am I listening to her? I'm not listening, and we miss out lots of things. And so that's one of the skill. Listening skill is looks like very simple, but it's one of the difficult skill. I think as a counselor, I am also learning that it's a lot of more difficult. You are in your mind preparing your answers. The moment she says something, my answers are getting ready. I'm not listening. Listening in a sense, I listen not to the words what is said. I listen to much more what is she trying to tell me. I'll go beyond, read between. We say we read between the lines. We understand her heart, we understand her emotions. Okay. So, coming to that, how will you improve your emotional intelligence? I'm just going to read out this slide because the lot more matter I have left it for you to go through because there's time constraint. So I'm not reading the whole of it. I'm just going to tell you how you can improve your emotional intelligence is pay attention to yourself. Pay attention to yourself. How are you coming across to people? Secondly, use positive language. Remember, language is very powerful because it is language that creates your thought. Remember, language creates your thought. So if I learn to speak politely, automatically my thoughts are going to come because that is what we have. Language is one of the good things that we have. And simple terms to say, we as human beings, everything that comes from our body stings. Let's put it that way. Our sweat stings, our blood stings, everything that comes out of us stings. The only thing that comes out of our mouth can be sweet is our words. And well, so cultivate positive language, cultivate positive language. Keep going. Well, don't get discouraged. You tried today, you failed, it doesn't matter. Keep going. That's how you will cultivate emotional intelligence. Keep trying. Another thing, watch your stress level because whenever we are stressed, whenever we are anxious, we kind of lose control. There are lots of chemicals in our brain, and with stress, cortisol is the chemical that we talk about. It gets heavily released, and so we lose kind of a control. So watch your stress level. If you're feeling stressed, don't deal with it. Don't deal with the emotions. If you're stressed, just stay calm. Calm and take time. It's okay to tell sister, can we talk about this just few minutes later? I'm not in a position. It's okay to say that. And I think we Indians, we need to cultivate a lot more this. We are not used to that. I think I'm developing this personally for myself. When something happens, I want to react. And I'm like, no, wait, pause. Just think for a minute. So I tell the sisters, I think I am feeling angry. Maybe if you give little more time, we'll come and talk to you. And that works. It does work. Well, second thing is show compassion. All right, you feel angry, you feel stressed out, but the person in front of you may not have realized it. May not have. She comes with a very exciting news to you, and you are like, "Don't you know this? I am not. I'm in a bad mood." How is she going to know? Oh well, poor thing. She just comes to tell you that maybe she receives a good compliment and she's happy about it. Just be compassionate. Be compassionate, and things will be okay. You can read the further details in this. So, simple tips for enhancing your emotional intelligence is reflect on your emotions, be aware. What I mean is be aware, recognize your emotion, name your emotions, ask others' perspective. Emotional intelligence is nothing but developing a different perspective in life. I think one way, there are other 10 people thinking 10 different ways. So think in a different perspective, get a different perspective. Be observant, very, very important. Be observant of everything in life, especially of your emotions. Use the pause, which I mentioned. Pause, pause. It's okay. Just tell yourself, it's all right. I'm feeling angry. Just take a break and then talk. Then talk. Explore the why. Uh, Ask one thing, my novice mistress told me this. Ask yourself, why am I doing what I am doing? Always ask, why am I doing what I am doing? That will give you a lot more indications of yourself. Well, when you are criticized, don't take offense. Ask, what can I learn? Because whenever we are criticized, we are ready to defend, No, 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 I am not like this. I am not like this. All right. It's not an attack on yourself. Don't take it attack on yourself. Someone is pointing their own point of view. Don't have to get defensive. Okay, sister, you said this. Yeah. Maybe I will have to look about it. I'll think about it. Well, this is not easy. In our religious life, we get threatened. I'm telling you. We feel very awkward when we feel we take it very personally when we are criticized. You make other people's comment as if it's thrown on your whole person. Very lately, I have realized no, criticism is something someone else's opinion about how they perceive. Of course, they have got it from the way I have behaved. Yes, yes, there is to it, but it's again an opinion. But can I learn something from it? What she says, does it hold any truth? Maybe that's how you can look at it. And the last is emotional intelligence to cultivate. Practice, practice, practice. Well, though I have put these questions, I feel I didn't get a time to frame it a little better. Let's see if this can create discussion. If not, I can send it a little more better formulated questions. So where do you think you currently are in terms of your emotional intelligence? Looks like this can foster uh, sharing in relating to these areas. What are some of the key areas of strength for you in this emotional intelligence? Which means, what do you think as an emotional intelligence? What are my strength? Where I feel okay, I have this, I have certain amount of compassion in me, and this is my strength. What are those? And what are some of the key elements you need to improve as emotional intelligent person? Maybe that could lead into. Well, I am done with it. How, Sister
Thank
Michelle? So can I stop my sharing my
Yes,
screen
you
now?
could stop sharing. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Religious life provides us with many opportunities to really develop our emotional intelligence. And
It does.
especially, we find that in conflictual situations. And so, thank you for giving us all kinds of very practical approaches and tips to be able to be emotionally intelligent, to be able to be aware of our intelligence, and to address situations wherein we feel uncomfortable or any of our emotions arise. So thank you so much. We really appreciate that, Sister Stevena.
Thank you, Sister
I
Michelle.
We're grateful. We're grateful, and that ends our session for today. Thank you all.
Exactly. Thank you. Thank you to everyone.